What is going on, everybody? We are live for Mock Draft 2.0, coming fresh off of the Combine events. Was out there in Indy for a few nights, had a great time. Good to see a lot of people out there. I honestly was going to be like a week until I do another, or was going to do another mock draft, but I was just sitting there thinking, I was like, man, if I wait too long, we're going to have the post free agency mock draft. We got to have a post combine mock draft. And this is going to be the way to get that in by doing it as a live stream with you guys here. This was a busy week for me. I'm finishing up my Studs and Duds series through the exclusive content over there on Patreon and for YouTube members. And I'm also kind of halfway through the works of my top 10 edge rusher positional rankings. So the format for today's mock is, of course, live. I'm going to be filling this mock draft out live. I have done no prep in terms of like how this mock is going to go. We're going to be doing this all on the fly here, which is definitely a different format than some of my other mock drafts that are, pre-scripted and, or at least in the terms of like I've pre-made the mock draft. And then I'm talking about why I made the picks I made. This is a little bit different. And it's even if the production quality is a little bit different, you're not going to get the highlights and the clean graphics here. We're going to be going through the PFF mock draft simulator here. I think it's a really fun, different format to do as well, to kind of talk through the different picks, maybe even entertain some of the comments with the live chat there, but, hit on some of the other options at every pick and maybe why I didn't go in a certain direction and kind of talk through every pick. So different ways to do these mock drafts is always fun. It's going to be a fun video. I mean, we got so much to react to, whether it's all the workouts at the Combine, already seeing Vicky in the chat saying Taylon Green 1.1. Yeah, I don't think Taylon Green is getting in the first round for me, but a lot of players sliding up and down, whether it's from the workouts or medical news. We got lots of stuff to talk about there, and we've even had some NFL news here. The Bears just had Drew Dahlman retire. So much stuff is going on. So it's a really fun time to do a mock draft. And with that, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Switch this over to our handy dandy mock draft tool. Shout out PFF for the best mock draft simulator in the business. The other thing, just a couple other house rules for this mock draft, is I do want to give some love to the Packers, Falcons, Colts, Jags. I don't know if we'll see when we get there. I might go back in and jump into a different mock simulator just to super sim to those picks. But I want to give some love, to those teams that are picking in the second round. Starting here for this one. And then hopefully for the next mock draft, we'll be doing 2-round mocks. So we'll get there anyway. And then also going to do the Raiders pick at 33. This is going to be a 32 pick mock draft, but because we're starting at number 2, we're not really going to have any analysis about Mendoza at number 1. Always got to answer the question too, is this what I would do versus what I think happens? I think within the top 10, I'm going to try to bake in a little bit more of what I think happens. And then naturally, once you get past that, it fully turns into, what I would do mock draft. And, this year with just the one quarterback, really, it kind of is natural anyway, for me to just kind of look at it as a what I would do situation. But we got a first super chat here from the Butzel. Still in love with the idea of Caleb Downs to the Giants. Makes so much sense for them. Harbaugh will want to use on defense and what he had in Kyle Hamilton. I will say this. I think if that's the case, Javon Holland is probably your Kyle Hamilton, with more of the slot corner idea. So I don't think you're drafting Caleb Downs to be your Kyle Hamilton role. He's a different type of safety, very much so, than a Kyle Hamilton. But obviously he values that position, and the idea of a 3 safety defense doesn't deter me, because I still think Tyler Nubin should be baked into the equation there. So just a quick rip on that, but thank you. I think probably every 8 picks, I will probably catch up on super chats. And then if any are relevant to the pick that we're on, I will try to give you guys some love as well. So thank you for kicking things off there. The Butzel 9752. Shall we begin, guys? Let's do it. Obviously, like I said, First pick, Fernando Mendoza. It's like the lamest year for the number one pick in a long, long time. No analysis needed. We've laid that all on the line. Let's start the mock draft with the number 2 pick for the New York Jets. So I have a pretty strong opinion, really, at this point of where I think they will go. So we can kind of have that debate of if we want to do the predictive mock style or what I would do. And honestly, they might be the same answer here. But I feel very strongly that this pick is going to be Arvell Reese out of Ohio State. Just hearing the way the NFL talks about him, and honestly, the way I have him graded, I do have Ruben Bain Jr. as the best overall player in this draft, and I think you could absolutely go that way. But I will say this. I think with them trading Jermaine Johnson away and bringing in T'Vondre Sweat, if you're really talking about how they want to craft that front, it actually really shapes up cleanly now where you have Will McDonald, who's definitely better as a stand-up edge, and Arvell Reese, who in that 2-point stance as a true kind of 2-4 or 3-4 outside backer would make a ton of sense. You've got your nose tackle in T'Vondre Sweat. They've got some other guys they do like. I feel very strongly that Arvell Reese will be the pick at number 2. So I think I want to make that, and I just want to clarify, like, if I am in full control of this pick, and I have to really, make the best decision for the Jets here, I probably land on Ruben Bain. I do, but I just want to emphasize, like, it is close. I do really like Arvell Reese. I'm not just doing this because I think it's what happens. I think it would actually be either that or Ruben Bain would be the best picks that the Jets can make here. So we're going to go that route there for the Jets. Already got a couple other Super Chats coming in. So after the 8th pick, I will circle back and get caught up on Super Chats kind of in increments unless they are relevant to the pick that we're on. All right, so the Cardinals are up at number 3, and this is like, I don't remember having so much of a struggle with a top 3 or even top 5 draft pick as a mock drafter on here on the internet. This is such a tough spot to be for the Cardinals. They just announced, by the way, they are releasing Kyler Murray outright. They're not getting anything for him, which is a different conversation for another day, but we know he is not here in this scenario. Man, I am on the phone like all the way up to the draft, all the way down to the last second. I want to do everything I can to get out of this pick for the Cardinals, especially after they've released Kyler Murray. I did have the opinion that, and it was an unpopular opinion, but I was of the opinion that if they do things right this offseason, they're not that far away with Kyler Murray of competing next year. But obviously now they're not going to be competing this year. So I'm looking at this as a rebuild. I don't think drafting like Jeremiah Love is it's becoming a very common pick for the Cardinals at number 2. I actually really don't like that for them. They don't have an offensive line. Like, look at what happened with Ashton Ginty going to the Raiders last year. You're looking at this as a long-term rebuild, just kicking that off with a running back at number 3. It's just bad process, in my opinion. Even if Jeremiah Love is, quote-unquote, worth the pick to a lot of other teams, I just don't think that really makes sense for the Cardinals. I do believe in Trey Benson. I understand he's had injury issues, and a lot of people are betting against that at some point. But, dude, Trey Benson last year led the NFL in missed tackles force per attempt. I still really like Trey Benson enough to not take Jeremiah Love here. So definitely if this is me, I would take Ruben Bain and figure it out. They are, a 3-4 style system. They have a bunch of other bodies in there. I'm actually going to pull up our lads as well because that's useful for this exercise. So we can kind of pick through the depth chart a little bit. Bring that over here. Make sure that looks good. Yes, it does. Yeah, I mean, it's Josh Sweat and it's Baron Browning are your 2 true edge rushers, and then you got Zaven Collins. You got B.J. Ojulari in the mix there. They drafted Jordan Birch last year that everyone was tagging me about in the preseason about how good he was and then didn't exist for the regular season. They have a bunch of bodies with that edge group, and then being kind of they're kind of this 3-4 team. They're keeping, what's his name? Nick Rallis around as the defensive coordinator, so the system is presumably going to be pretty similar. It gets a little bit harder to kind of plug Ruben Bain in there. So from a scheme fit perspective, it does get a little bit more clunky with Bain, who's, you could make it work. And at the end of the day, you're getting into your rush, dime packages anyway. And you're just gonna let him get after the quarterback and improve that pass rush. I just want to say, I think if I'm sticking and picking, for me, it has to be Ruben Bain. I just think that's the most value you can get out of this pick. The tackles in this draft, it just feels like you're reaching at 3, whereas you can maybe get a premium player at an also premium position in a Ruben Bain. So that's why it's so tough for the Cardinals. And the extra hard thing here is who's trading up. If you're calling down and say we want to get to, the 8th pick, are the Saints going to mortgage a bunch of picks to come up? The Chiefs are close. Like, the Chiefs are in striking distance. Do they want to make a move up for Ruben Bain to secure him? I don't think Ruben Bain gets to the Chiefs. I don't think he gets past Washington at 7. That would just be crazy to me. So if there's a team coming up, it's probably the Chiefs to go get Ruben Bain. I don't think the Bengals are doing it. They have too many needs. The Dolphins are in a rebuild. They're not doing it. Cowboys, maybe, but we're starting to get pretty deep. I kind of entertained this concept of the Cardinals moving down on Twitter, and it blew up in my face because I had them moving all the way down to 30 today. And you realize pretty quickly, like, the value proposition gets really tough for both teams, where the team coming up is giving up way too much, and the team moving down is giving up too much positioning. So, and some people are saying David Bailey for the Cardinals. I think that certainly could happen. That one's a lot harder for me. That's a much harder sell for me in terms of being the right pick for this team. Personally, I am a good bit lower on David Bailey. I know we're trying to balance the what I would do versus what I think happens, but I don't think the league is necessarily number 3 overall high on David Bailey either. Some people are saying, why not Sonny Styles? I think if you're taking Sonny Styles, you might as well take Jeremiah Love. I think Jeremiah Love is both of those positions are, running back is actually a more valuable position than linebacker if you look at the market. But I think Jeremiah Love is just a much better player at an even more valuable position. If we're going to take the linebacker there, you don't need a safety. You can't go Caleb Downs. I think you can tell from me talking through this, this is just such a tough pick to do the right thing, and it's such a critical pick for the rest of the draft. I think the clock is expiring on us at this point. I think we gotta make a pick. I'm gonna take Ruben Bain to the Cardinals. I am. I think you'll find a way to get him on the field. He could even play, if you have to be out there in a 5-2 front, 3-4 front. You can stick him as a 4-eye. Like, he's a good enough run defender to do that if you have to get into a base defense. But they really have just lived in kind of hybrid nickel fronts anyway. And I actually like the idea that we can take. I think this helps you get the most out of the edge rushers that you do have in there already, because maybe you are rushing Ruben Bain over a guard next to Walter Nolan with, Josh Sweat and Baron Browning screaming off the edge. So in that sense, you're probably getting the most out of the players you do have. So we're going to go Ruben Bain at number 3 to the Cardinals. But God, I hope for a Cardinals' sake they can find a trade down partner, because I want to go offensive line, but it just doesn't feel like the reach is worth it when you also need pass rush. So there's your pick at number 3, Ruben Bain to Arizona. Then you have the Titans up at number 4. And, they've added to their edge group now, so it's not as dire of a need with Jermaine Johnson. And, they still have Arden Key in there. I don't think he's a free agent. But definitely pass rush is something they could use. I also think adding to the offense could be in play for them. So is it a Jeremiah Love? Personally, I wouldn't go that route. I I think Tyjae Spears, Tony Pollard can continue to get the job done there for you. A lot of people have brought up Sonny Styles to them because of the kind of Fred Warner comps, which is a very common comp for him, and the fact that you've got Robert Saleh in control here. It could happen. You could just go with the safe safety pick and take Caleb Downs. This 3 to 7 range is the hardest part of this draft because whatever you do, you're probably going to reach a little bit. If I think what they do, I know the league is extremely high on Carnell Tate. I wouldn't be stunned if they go that route. I think they either go Carnell Tate or Sonny Styles personally. It's kind of nice to just get Sonny Styles out of the way too, because that's kind of one of my big takes is like I don't think he's as good as people are saying he is. I saw a lot more issues with his tape than people are saying, so it's almost nice to just get that out of the way. I mean, the more valuable pick is to take Carnell Tate with the top 4 pick, get the wide receiver position that the top wide receivers make double what the top linebackers make. I actually really like what Cedric Gray did for them last year. I think Robert Saleh can develop linebackers. I'm just less worried about that being an important, like as cool as Sonny Styles is, I'm just less worried about that being an important position that's going to actually help project this team forward. I just don't think that'd be the best pick for what this team needs in 2026. I think Carnell Tate in that offense really plays for me. I've done Mekhi Lemon in the past. We're trying to keep the top 8 or 9 picks like somewhat realistic here. I think the league is going to take Carnell Tate over Mekhi Lemon. I do. Even if I have Mekhi Lemon ranked a little bit ahead of Tate. So that's going to be the pick after we talk this out. It's going to be Carnell Tate to the Titans at 4. Then you have the Giants at pick number 5. We had the super chat earlier talking about Caleb Downs. Does this team want to be a 3 safety team? Even if they are going to be more of a 2 safety team defensively, do you look at Tyler Nubin and Javon Holland after how they played last year as definite long-term answers for them? Maybe, maybe not. We did talk about this off the rip. If you do go Caleb Downs, which I think is absolutely in play for them, you're probably taking Javon Holland and playing him in that Kyle Hamilton role, which I actually kind of like that. I mean, that's when Javon Holland has had some of his best tape. Sonny Styles, again, is going to be a popular pick. Look, man, the longer you watch the NFL, the more you realize like linebacker just doesn't impact the game all that much unless you really do hit on like that elite guy. There's such a high bust rate at this position. I think, I saw, I don't remember if it was Pro Football Talk or somebody that said he did a collective GM mock draft and Sonny Styles was not in the top 10 of that mock draft. I just don't know that it's as big of a lock that he's like definitely top 5. I think teams realize like it is the least paid position in the league for a reason, even below running back. I'm not saying it'd be a bad pick, but I don't know. I kind of lean Caleb Downs over that. Now, Caleb Downs also had some news come out that he's got potential knee issues. Does that scare you away from taking a safety with the 5th pick? It very well might. This could be a situation where you have a new staff coming in. Do they want to go Jeremiah Love, even though you have Scadaboo there? That would break my heart if they did that, because I would almost, I would go stand outside of New York with in a picket line and say trade Scadaboo because we deserve to see him be the number 1 running back. Trade down could also be in play. Artist in the chat suggested a trade down could actually make a lot of sense. Is this a range where the Chiefs maybe do want to come up and snag Jeremiah Love? That I don't hate. Or does Dallas want to jump up? You probably aren't trading with Dallas in our division, but the Chiefs are interesting for me because they're never in a position to draft like literal blue chip draft talent. And even if that's a running back, they're just, those guys just aren't available to the Chiefs, who are picking in the 20s every year. So you could potentially do that. But you could also, if you're the Chiefs, just risk that he falls to you at number 9. But I've also seen in scenarios like, if you aren't, I ended up not taking Jeremiah Love at 9 in my first mock draft. I kind of regret that. I think I've come around to the idea that the Chiefs should take him if Bain and Reese are gone. Gosh, this is tough. I think we're going to do it. I think we're going to do the Chiefs come up for Jeremiah Love. And I don't think it doesn't need to be a crazy trade here. Like, I think you're probably talking about flipping, giving the Giants an extra third, and you maybe get the 185th back. Like, I don't know that the trade down price is as steep as a lot of people. You're definitely not getting a future first. You're not getting a first or a second round pick for this swap. You're just not. Like, I'm also controlling the Chiefs here, and I'm just not doing that if I'm the Chiefs. If it's the 74th pick, which is still a really good pick, by the way, I still really like that for the Giants, because you're going to be able to pick as good of a player at 9, and you're getting another starter with the 74th pick. So for me, I think we'll throw 191 back, get the extra third round. We'll move down 4 spots. I don't know what the exact value is there, but I think that's kind of the nature of this draft. So we're gonna send that one through. And we're going to take Jeremiah Love for the Chiefs at pick 5. And then the Browns are up. And I do think the Browns need to just, pick a tackle. I know they got one taken care of with, Jesus, I'm tripping all over my words right now. They just traded for Texans tackle. Oh my gosh. Name's totally escaping me right now, but they got one of their 2 tackle needs taken care of. They still have another one. Maui Goa feels like the best offensive lineman in this draft, but is he a tackle? Is he a guard? That's going to be a question. Thank you, chat. Titus Howard should be their right tackle. Monreal Feeling is a skyrocketing name right now, who's got all the traits in a way that, Fano, shorter arms, Proctor, not the athlete, Maui Goa, maybe not the range to be a tackle. Freeling, it's like there's no weaknesses from a upside perspective. And I'm kind of on board with it. A guy that probably would normally go in the 10 to 20 range, but in this draft ends up going with the 6th pick. I think that makes sense. There's so many Colton Miller. Thank you. I know it's Maui Noah. I got to remember to say that correctly. But this is definitely becoming kind of the expected pick at number 6. If we're trying to keep the right top 10 players kind of to fall in the right order here, I think we go Monroe Feeling to the Browns at number 6. All right, then we got the Commanders at number 7. And I do think it's Caleb Downs again. This is what I did in my first mock. One of the worst safety rooms in the league. He's the best player available at this point. David Bailey's going to go at some point here, but I really do just think Caleb Downs is a good step ahead of David Bailey as a prospect. Seriously, man, David Bailey, the majority of his production comes against really bad tackles where he's just speed rushing up the field. It's quarterbacks that drop too far back and take really bad sacks. He's not particularly bendy. He doesn't play the run well. He has an inside spin move, but I don't think he fully realizes like how and when to use it. He just kind of breaks it out when he feels like it. But yeah, the knee injury issues on Caleb Downs are scary as well. So I'm telling you, man, 3 through 7, this draft is absolutely impossible. Do you think about a wide receiver here? Do you just grab Mekhi Lemon, who's maybe best player available if you're worried about the injury stuff on Caleb Downs? I don't think that's insane. Terry McLaurin is now 31 years old. You really don't have anybody else in that wide receiver room you're all that excited about. I actually don't think that's crazy to go that route. I would love to trade down if I could do that. But again, trade downs are just really hard this year. I know we were able to make one happen, but that was with the one team that I think is positioned to do a trade up. I kind of do like Mekhi Lemon for them. That's those are my 3 best options, and Sonny Styles could be in play as well. He absolutely could be. Get you some speed in the middle of that defense. I do think Mekhi Lemon is a much more impactful player to this team immediately. You know, if Sonny Styles turns into the next Fred Warner, that's great, but I think I'm with the knee stuff at this point. I think Downs falls a few more picks. I think I'll cross his name off. It's really just between Lemon and Styles. Curious what the chat thinks between those two options, because it's really tough. So yeah, Lemon had a bad interview report. I don't like to put stock into those reports about like the team interviews. He had the podium situation where he he kind of went off the rails a little bit. He kind of went psycho in his answer, just like the way he was talking. Like it looked like he was possessed in his answer, and it was just like, wait, does he actually talk like that? I went and watched another interview with Mekhi Lemon with Chris Sims just to make sure that that's not how he talks, and it's not. He just kind of got in a groove. So I didn't change the grade or anything like that on Mekhi Lemon. It's more of just something that's fascinating. The chat is pretty heavy on Styles, which isn't, it's not a surprise to me. I mean, there's an unstoppable wave of momentum for Sonny Styles. I'll do it. I'll be very clear. This is not the pick I would make. This is where we're trying to balance that, what I think happens, and but is it so crazy that Mekhi Lemon would? Is it so crazy that Mekhi Lemon would go here? I don't think so. I'm struggling between catering to the momentum and just making the pick that I would make, and that is Mekhi Lemon. A lot of people in the chat are saying just make your pick. So I'm going Mekhi Lemon, man. I'm doing it. And I don't think it's crazy that they would go that route either. I really don't. I think people are overrating how the league feels about linebackers and just how good of a prospect Styles is. The testing was obviously absurd. I think he's going to go pretty soon here, but look, man, the Commanders really need wide receivers, man. Terry McLaurin is 31 years old, and they got nobody else. They have literally nobody else. So I think it's actually a bigger need than linebacker for them. So there's your pick at number 7. All right, Saints at pick 8. I'm looking at Styles. I'm looking at Bailey. I'm looking at Maui Noah. I mean, is Maui Noah not another freaking? I'm just pulling up their depth chart here, because I do think of like guard Talizi Fuanga. They would just have such a freaking beast offensive line if they went Maui Noah. That's actually a pretty easy pick for me. And I've said I've said that I think Fuanga's been about what you would expect it, as he's a pretty good tackle, but I think Fuanga could be a great guard. If you actually think Maui Noah has a little bit more athleticism to be a tackle, you could flip that. I think the idea that you can't take a guard in the top 10 is extremely outdated, by the way. Like, have you paid attention to the guard market in the last 2 years? Like, top guards are getting $24, $25 million. How is everybody here screaming for Jeremiah Love and Sonny Styles, especially in the top 8, yet we can't take a guard? Like, what the hell are we talking about if that's your explanation? So I'm gonna take Maui Noah. Keep doing what this team has set out to do, and you're seriously like building one of the best offensive lines here, and it's a deep class to get wide receivers. I'm not taking a secondary player at number 8 when I can get a potential All-Pro guard in Maui Noah. So that's gonna be my pick there for the Saints at number 8. All right, Giants are up at 9, and I think, we're considering the same 2 players here. That's why that trade down was so great. Yes, super chats. We're taking a quick super chat break because you guys have been incredible pouring in with the super chats. Thanks for the reminder there, chat. But Smiler says thoughts on this year's draft class compared to last year, specifically players expected to go in the top half of the first round. Yeah, last year's was kind of similar in the sense that like 5 through like 15 was just really clunky, but at least last year, even at like, you had Travis Hunter, you had Abdul Carter, right? For me, T-Mac was in that top 3. You had like at least blue chip prospects at premium positions. This year, I think there's 3 blue chip prospects. It's Ruben Bain, it's Jeremiah Love, and it's Caleb Downs, depending on how serious the injury stuff is. But, a running back and a safety compared to last year, talking about a couple receivers and an edge rusher, it just drops the crop. Like from 4 to 15, like that's why I don't think the trade down value is as much as people think like you normally would get, because from 4 to 15, these guys are all about the same caliber prospects this year. So that's where this draft is really different. The other weird thing is there's no quarterbacks, there's no running backs in this draft for the most part, where those are usually very deep positions. But, I don't think it's as good of a draft overall as last year, but good question. Alex Tracy says, how can the Ravens rebound from losing out on Linderbaum if they can ever rebound? That's tough. That's really tough. I don't know how you let Tyler Linderbaum out of the building. That's what this is all about. You draft offensive linemen in the first round. When they become Pro Bowlers, you pay them. Like, I guess the Ravens are playing hardball because they don't think a center is worth what Linderbaum is going to be able to get on the open market, but they're wrong for that. Like, that's the Ravens. I will say this: the Ravens front office has lost a lot of their luster over the last 2 or 3 years after a decade plus of just like prominence and respect. This is another thing. I'm like, what are the Ravens doing, man? Like, how do you let that guy out the building? Especially when you already have interior offensive line issues. Like, you're going to create another one? It's just crazy to me. Like, one of the worst, like, most inexplicable things that a team is potentially going to do here. From Jan Grimm, funny how you were spot on with wide receiver 40 times for these top 5 guys. I noticed that. I was pretty spot on. I had Carnell Tate estimated at 4.52. People were surprised that he didn't run faster. I wasn't particularly surprised there. He ran a 4.53. I had a 4.44 actually estimated on Omar Cooper Jr., and he ended up at 4.43. Like, that was on the money. I was pretty proud of a lot of those estimated 40 times. And Jeremiah Love, I guessed, would run a 4.37, and that's exactly what he ran. So pretty good on a lot of those guys. Thanks for the shout out, Jan Grimm. Thoughts on Sonny Styles versus Isaiah Simmons. Don't like it as a comparison. Isaiah Simmons played safety for Clemson. I don't even understand why there's so many other linebackers that we should be comparing Sonny Styles to. Tremaine Edmonds, Kenneth Murray, the guy, the commander, there was the Washington football team at the time, from Kentucky, Quay Walker. There's actual freaky first-round linebackers that had some questions on their tape that went in the first round, as opposed to Isaiah Simmons is just kind of in his own little bubble where he was a safety that made a position change. So I don't like when people compare Sonny Styles to Isaiah Simmons personally. Lucas, thank you. $20 super chat from Lucas. I'm a new member, excited to support Minnesota-based. Support a Minnesota-based content creator. You got it, man. If you have a Chiefs take at take a right. If you have the Chiefs take a right tackle at 9, I will have a reaction that makes Schnobel look like a small accident. Yikes. P.S. I'm cool with Mesidor at 9 now. Hey, love it. Yeah, still probably a little early for Mesidor at the end of the day, but I would do it if the board fell the way it did in that mock. Although I will say, I think I'm on board probably at this point taking Jeremiah Love over Mesidor. But my analysis stands. I think anywhere 9 through 20, I think Mesidor makes sense. He's second best edge rusher in the draft for me. Julia says, will you join NFL Stock Exchange for a mock draft this year? I hope so. Hope we can make year 3 in a row happen. It's always one of my favorite recordings of the year, sitting down with Trevor and Connor. Spence says Bailey played very well in the Oregon playoff game. I disagree. I actually think he was nowhere to be found for about 3.5 quarters. Made a play in the fourth quarter. That's what everybody says is look at David Bailey against Oregon. I've watched that game twice, and I just disagree. I don't think he was nearly that good, other than a couple of splash plays at the end of the game, which I think he's a splash play player. I just don't think he's a very consistent player. Warhammer says Hawks going RB or cornerback in the draft. The problem with going running back is there's no one at 32 worth taking in this draft, but definitely later down the board. Just a couple more here from Jack Matt. Fell to my knees as a Bears fan hearing Drew Dahlman retire. How do I think they address it? Well, I saw that they're working out the Commanders center, Biadesh. That would make sense. I mean, it's hard. It's hard. You lose a Pro Bowl center when you're not expecting it. You haven't really set any plans in motion. You're not going to get that guy back. But that was definitely a wild piece of news to hear today. 27-year-old Pro Bowl center just drops out of the league. Not what you expect. Jay also says, 4th season watching you. Glad you're getting more traction. Omar Cooper needs to fall to the Steelers. Dude, the Omar Cooper take is shaping up to be one of my best draft takes in a long time. I'm just saying, man. It's been fun to see everybody get to his tape and kind of come to the same conclusion because he's freaking awesome. And then from Rome, why are so many people surprised that K9 didn't get tagged? John Schneider is known for not tagging players. Also, Ty Okada got tendered for 2026, assuming Kobe might be out of the building. That's fun. Ty Okada was a fun player to watch last year. I think it's just because it just made sense. Like whatever John Schneider's tendencies are, getting Kenneth Murray back or Kenneth. Gosh, I always struggle with Kenneth Murray and Kenneth Walker. I don't know. My brain just twists those two names up. But Kenneth Walker, sorry. I understand if you don't want to give him a super long-term extension because he has durability concerns. He's coming off like the best ball of his career. But you got Zach Charbonnet coming off the injury. You don't really have anybody else. $14 million for 1 year for Murray. For Walker, I'm telling you, man, I can't keep that straight. It just feels like that would be a tendency breaker to make that decision. So that to me is certainly a surprise. All right. Let's get back to the action here. Thank you guys so much for the super chats, your support for the channel, whether it's the super chats or also like the amount of you guys that have made the move over to stick with Studs and Duds. That was not an easy decision that I made to move it to Patreon, to move it to YouTube members. The continued passion you guys have shown for that support is just incredible. So whether you're supporting there, enjoying Studs and Duds with the exclusive content, or you're in here in the chat, I just thank you so much. And to all the rest of you, if you could please hit that like button on the stream, would really appreciate it. Make sure you're subscribed as well. We're going to have position rankings flooding out to you guys over the next 2 months. We'll be live for the NFL draft. We got all the draft analysis heading your way. So do please make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And my wife would, while we're plugging things, my wife would be mad at me if I didn't shout out my TikTok. It's That Franchise Guy on TikTok. My wife is putting shorts together on TikTok. She's my new shorts producer. So have to shout that out as well if you're on the TikTok. All right, let's get the mock draft going again. So the Giants are up at number 9. I think this is pretty easily between Styles and Downs. This is where it gets a little bit easier here. I mean, the pick is Downs if you aren't worried about the knee. That's just such new news that it's hard. You know, I think not only is safety a more important position than linebacker, but I think Downs is a better prospect. So if you're not worried about the knee, I think the pick is Caleb Downs to move down and get him still at 9 after maybe a little bit of fear with the knee. I think Downs is the pick here at number 9. Then we got the Bengals at pick 10, who are probably a little pissed that Downs just went. Now I think Styles could be in play for you at 10. I did just see Trey Hendrickson said his goodbyes on Twitter today. And you've also got Joseph Asai is a pending free agent who was their best edge rusher last year. Miles Murphy was okay, hasn't really taken that step. I mean, I think if you're talking about what's going to help the Bengals more, David Bailey, is going to be a bigger impact to the defense because of the position he plays. I have almost an identical grade on David Bailey and Sonny Styles. They're going to both come in about the 10th to 15th best player in this draft for me. It's a little early for me on Peter Woods, who came in at 295 at the combine. I don't love that for the Bengals. Honestly, if I went D tackle, I'd probably go Caleb Banks for them. I think, well, and I didn't even mention the Bengals freaking first rounder from last year, Shamar Stewart. It's pretty easy to forget he exists. But I do agree that their linebackers were really hard to watch. I think if you're talking about like what is the bigger raw need, I would say, yeah, linebacker. Knight Jr. was up and down, to say the least, last year. The other guy that I think is in play is Dylan Thieneman. That actually might be my pick here because, dude, I don't think you can really understand how bad their safety room is. And maybe they can fix it in free agency, but Geno Stone, pending free agent, and was absolutely putrid. I mean, let me just zoom in on this. You got Jordan Battle, who's fine. And then, look at that. Tyson Anderson, Dejon Anthony. I mean, dude, Dylan Thieneman, the way he tested, I've started to get into his tape. I haven't finished the grade, but I think he's going to be safety 2 for me over McNeil Warren. I don't think that's crazy at all. Is he worth taking over Sonny Styles? I know the majority are going to say no on that. I wouldn't be stunned if I end up with a higher grade on Dylan Thieneman than on Sonny Styles. But I think my gut's telling me we should just take Styles and not get too crazy here. But if I'm a Bengals fan, like honestly, if I'm watching this mock draft and I'm a Bengals fan, I would be watching me saying, I want the safety, because their safety group has been such a disaster since they let Jesse Bates go. There's depth at linebacker in this draft. Ugh. Trade with Dallas. That's kind of what I was thinking. Just flip down 2 picks. I like that. Dallas comes to get Sonny Styles. We move down a little bit. I think that's the play. I actually really like that. That was my first thought. I'm glad I saw someone say that. And this wouldn't cost too much. You're looking at, but the Cowboys don't have, that's what's interesting, is the Cowboys don't have a pick until 112. So they can't really do this trade. Unless you're getting a future 2. But am I doing that if I'm Dallas? I don't know that I want to give up a future 2 to move up 2 spots. Who else might come up? The Bucks might come up. The Bucks might come up for Sonny Styles. We're going to do that. And that's where you can get a decent return here. I think the Bucks have a deep enough roster that and enough picks that they would do this. I think you're probably giving up 46, but I think you could get 72 back, and then you throw what is this, a 4th rounder in there? So you're swapping it's not giving me much of the meter there to tell me how good this trade really is. That makes sense to me. It's a lot of picks. You might ask for like a 6th rounder back. Let's pull up the draft pick chart and just see what this says. So we said you're looking at 250 points of value there of difference. We said it was pick 46 and 72. So 46 is worth the difference, but then you're getting 70. You got about 100 and you got almost 200 points of surplus there. And you give that back with 72 and some. And then we said a 4th. It's probably a 5th. It's probably right there. So we were really close. I think it's pick 153 instead of pick 116. And I think I would do that if I'm the Bucks. So that's the trade right there. All right. And that's going to be Sonny Styles to the Bucks at 10. And that I feel good about. Him and that defense, they really need to juice up that linebacker group. And I think for the Bengals, you're moving down to a spot where you're either taking Caleb Banks or Dylan Thieneman at 15 and feeling really good about that. And you're picking up, this team has so many needs that you're picking up, that 2nd round pick is massive in terms of putting another starter into this defense. So I really like that for both sides. Okay, Miami Dolphins at pick 11. This is where I took Omar Cooper Jr. in my first mock draft, and I just want to say I still love that pick and might be my pick for them if I were doing this, but we do have David Bailey available here, and the Dolphins do need another edge guy because Jalen Phillips is gone, Bradley Chubb is gone now, even Chop Robinson, it's like, what is he going to be? My only issue there is you have 2 edge guys that can't play the run, and you're trying to rebuild the culture in Miami. And I think I just talked myself out of that, taking David Bailey. I don't think you can have Chop Robinson and David Bailey in a rebuilding organization. I think I'm kind of out on that, honestly, right away. I think cornerback's in play. I don't know that Jeff Hafley is going to feel like cornerback is of the most importance in his system. He plays that top-down zone style. I don't think he's going to necessarily say we got to get a corner at 11. I think dropping Caleb Banks in there next to Kenneth Grant would be a ton of fun. You keep him in the state of Florida. I do just keep coming back to Omar Cooper Jr., though, man. I do. I mean, I think he goes in the top 20 at this point. What has Omar Cooper Jr. not shown people at this point to tell you he's one of the best players in this draft? The simulator's going to have to update here. Like, he's not going at 45. He's going in the top 20 to 25 picks. Like, that's been made very clear by the insiders, too. I love how he fits with Jalen Waddle. He run blocks. He is a manufactured touch guy. He's a building block for your team. He's the best player on the board, in my opinion. I think that's my pick, man. I think it's either Caleb Banks. You could certainly think about offensive line because we haven't taken Fano yet. I think 10 to 15 is more the Fano range. And Fano probably starts out as a guard for you because they do have Austin Jackson. I don't think Austin Jackson's going to be there for the long haul. You could take Ione. I don't hate that, but I mean, that's harder to get. That's harder to get than a receiver. I think I've been convinced that, yeah, if Ione is there, that's probably the pick. Because Fano, do they have his measurements in here? 6'6", 308. I know he's a good athlete. I know the arms were a little bit shorter. But they do absolutely need some guard help. Because Jonas Avanaia was rough. You got Cole Strange. And then, like I said, Austin Jackson's there, but not the forever guy. I like what Patrick Paul did. I think I just don't know how good of an athlete Ione is. I haven't gotten that far into his tape yet to know if he would fit kind of the wide zone system. But I think we'll make that the pick there. All right, Dallas Cowboys at pick 12. I think this is probably David Bailey at this point, right? Like they need more guys in that edge room. I don't know that Jadeveon Clowney's going to be back for them. Even if he is, that doesn't change your pick there. Obviously, they have Ezra Raku, but other than that, I mean, Fowler's gone, Williams is gone, Peyton Turner's gone, James Houston is there. Yeah, David Bailey, Texas to Texas, is going to be the pick there, number 12. That one was pretty easy. All right. Number 13, the LA Rams. They got their choice of both corners here. A lot of Ty Simpson hype picking up. I don't think it's going to start this early. Man, Jermon McCoy not working out really rubbed me the wrong way, and I think that would rub Sean McVay the wrong way as well. Although at the same time, the Rams are one of the teams that also skips the combine, so maybe they respect it. Could go either way on that, I think. Delane, though, just everything about him screams Rams, where he's the good football player. Yeah, he doesn't have the archetype traits, but the Rams just don't value that. I feel like Delane, with McCoy being a little bit more of a risk, would be the guy for the Rams at 13. So I think we go that route. I just want to make sure I'm not foregoing anything else that they would do. Like, I think they like their tackle situation. I think they like what Warren McClendon did for them enough that they're not necessarily feeling like they got to take a tackle here. They're pretty set with the rest of their line. So yeah, I think it's Mansour to Lane. Even if it's kind of chalk, it just makes too much sense to me. And their cornerback room was rough. Like seriously, you were starting Emmanuel Forbes last year. I think we saw the limits of Emmanuel Forbes, and you just can't keep counting on Darius Williams, man. Is he gonna be 33 this year? He turns 33 in 2 weeks. Like, you can't keep counting on Darius Williams to bail you out there. And I like Durant, but we're getting them a premium corner talent. All right, Baltimore Ravens up at pick 14. Caleb Banks is staring at me in the face here. Like, I do think if there's D linemen you like, this is actually another Akeem Mesidor team that I would really like. I mean, dude, the Ravens, we'll see what happens with Madubuike coming back. Their edge room, especially because right now, Draymond Jones is a pending free agent. Like, right now, you have Mike Green, who you really can't undersell how bad Mike Green was, and nothing else. Like, we just did the AFC North studs and duds, and talking about that edge room, it's really bad. And if you're the Ravens, you're trying to get right back into contention right now. I think you probably have about 5 years of Lamar's prime left. Mesidor, I think, is my pick, man. Love the tape. He, to me, is my second highest graded edge rusher in this class. Spoiler alert for the edge rush rankings later in the week. But, dude, the Ravens need to be able to drop somebody into this defensive line immediately and help. And no one's doing that better than Mesidor. I mean, I've talked about this at length. Like, the people that are so upset about, oh no, what do we do with Akeem Mesidor in 2032 when his 5th-year option expires? Like, I'm just not worried about that. If I'm drafting for any team that's trying to be in contention. So we're going to go Akeem Mesidor to the Ravens at pick 14. Really freaking good football player, man. Fluid athlete, good enough length, good enough size, defends the run, can rush with speed, finesse, power, you name it. Incredible technique. I'm a huge fan. All right. And then we get the exact guys we were thinking about at pick 15 for the Bengals between Thieneman and Caleb Banks. I feel like the Bengals have taken enough risks on different types of guys and largely been disappointed. Banks has the foot injury, didn't play last year. Thieneman feels much safer and honestly an even bigger need. So I'm going to take Thieneman here, but I do like the idea of Caleb Banks for them. I just think you got to get this rebuild going the right way and really nail this pick. And to me, Thieneman feels like the safer option for you there. Banks would be maybe the more exciting. All right, Jets at pick 16. Got a couple wide receivers on the board. And we were able to get Arvell Reese-Form earlier. I mean, it would be pretty crazy to just drop Caleb Banks in there and just have him and Sweat and Reese and McDonald and just say, all right, we got a D-line. Let's freaking go. That's definitely in play for me. But I also think getting a wide receiver too, the way Omar Cooper would complement someone like Garrett Wilson, is a ton of fun. I don't hate either the idea of getting Kenyon Sadiq for them, who's one of my favorite players in this draft. That's actually kind of where I lean. And I actually have an identical grade on Kenyon Sadiq as I do on Omar Cooper Jr. So those are going to be my 2 highest graded guys for now. You could certainly think about Jermond McCoy as well. I was going to say Aaron Glenn's not going to like a guy that skipped the combine, but hey, Aaron Glenn fell asleep at the combine, so maybe he doesn't have a whole lot of respect for the process either, just like McCoy. But yeah, I really like Kenyon Sadiq. I've talked about this on Twitter where I think he's at his best if you're pairing him with a Y tight end. And The Jets don't really have that. Like, you're going to end up asking Sadiq to be more of a true number one tight end for now. I still think long term you want to get, and maybe they could do this in free agency, but you want to get someone like Cole Kmet or Cade Otton or someone that's going to be more of your stationary wide tight end, because I think Sadiq as a slot wide receiver, as a 12 personnel wing player, someone that's just going to get a lot more touches and you get the most out of their value that way. But Sadiq can play like number one tight end. It's just not how you get the most out of him. But for now, they're still building this thing out. So I'm going to go Sadiq to the Jets. All right. Detroit Lions at pick 17. Always come back to guard for them. Caden Proctor's like the easy pick because not only do they need a guard, but Taylor at left tackle, Taylor Decker at left tackle, we don't know how long that's going to last. And Proctor's losing weight in a good way and maybe could be a tackle. Like it's pretty hard not to go with Caden Proctor. Like if we don't, where else would we go? Keldrick Falk kind of feels like their type, but I don't know, man. I'm not taking Keldrick Falk at 17. Maybe corner. Drummond McCoy would be kind of a fun, risky pick for them. I mean, that cornerback room is in a rough spot. DJ Reed got banged up last year, getting older, didn't play well when he was out there. And, dude, I don't know where we're at with Terrion Arnold, but it's leaning towards he's a bust. So if McCoy's there, maybe you do take the risk on him. I think that would be... I can't tell if the Lions would be completely turned off by a guy that didn't play this year or intrigued by the idea of like taking a guy that other people are afraid of. It's either that or Proctor. It's probably going to be a lot harder for them to find linemen later down the board. Whereas corner, you can probably find guys, but I don't know that necessarily changes. Let's go McCoy here. Let's mix things up a little bit for Detroit here. I think that's very reasonable that they would take him for sure. All right, Vikings up at pick 18. A lot of talk about them moving on from their interior D line, so to see guys like Caleb Banks and Peter Woods in this range would not be surprised at all. We did take the Eneman off the board. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren would fill that safety need for them. It's a decent spot for McNeil-Warren. I had some issues with McNeil-Warren in terms of the run defense, actually. Just go watch the second half of the Kentucky game. You'll see what I'm talking about. Like, bad angles from the back end, missed tackles. Like, I'm just saying, there was some stuff where I'm like, okay, are we taking this guy out of Toledo in the top 20? You want to see like really clean tape. And there were some moments with the run defense that I didn't think it was clean. But the coverage stuff is really good, and you could probably coach him up to be a better run defender. So it's in play. Don't think I'm taking a corner here for them. Honestly, Omar Cooper Jr. is very tempting as well. Just because I don't know what they're going to do with Jordan Addison. And if you're talking about someone that's going to give JJ an easy button and a way to help that offense, if you want to help JJ McCarthy, that's probably the best way to do that. So, and I think Omar Cooper Jr. is a much better prospect than Emmanuel McNeil-Warren if you're talking about drafting the best player available. Let's look at their interior D-line, because I do like Caleb Banks. Jalen Redmond's a stud, but there's talk about them maybe moving on from Jonathan Allen. And did they already release Javon Hargrave, it looks like? He's already listed down there. Banks next to, like, Banks is such a rare player, and to see him get utilized with Brian Flores and that size next to Levi Drake Rodriguez, that would get me pretty freaking excited. So I think Banks is the pick after kind of talking this thing out. Garrett's calling right now. Garrett wants to give us his opinion on the pick. You're on speaker, buddy.
Yeah. Give us Jordan Tyson. Or
yeah, the Vikings drafting an injured player in the first round has never gone wrong for the Vikings. Yeah, that is never.
We're literally 1-0 on the year.
All right, that was Quessy calling. He just told me what his first round pick was, so we're going to ignore that.
We're literally undefeated this year. You're defeated. Thank you.
All right. So that was Garrett's opinion. I think we're going Caleb Banks after talking this thing out. We can find a wide receiver in the second, and all we're doing is pushing these wide receivers further down the board. So Caleb Banks to the Vikings, pick 18. Let's look at some super chats. You guys have been amazing. We've had over 1,000 now in the stream consistently. Just incredible for kind of an impromptu Tuesday evening stream. It's been a ton of fun. But some super chats here. $20 from what? I can't even read this whole name. What's the hype? Something. It's my screen's cutting that off. But please tell me you're going Caleb Downs to the New York Giants. We got you, and an extra pick. We got you taken care of. Alex says starting to entertain the idea of Sadiq at 13. I don't think that would make sense for me. Although, hold on. I gotta give Ferguson his credit for bulking up. Ferguson looked 15 pounds heavier for me from his Oregon tape. So if he's eventually going to be more of your Tyler Higbee, and then you're running all the 12 personnel stuff with Sadiq, I think you could definitely sell me on that with him at 13. I still am trying to, I got to fully get over the idea that T. Ferg was kind of skinny and not a great blocker coming out. But if you think T. Ferg can be that guy, and then you're using Sadiq as your kind of do-it-all slot, F tight end, all that, then absolutely, man. Chris says, no way the Dolphins don't go defense in the first. I would say draft season, we get a lot of no way, insert. Of all of the things that are no way a team does or doesn't do something, I would say knowing with certainty that the Dolphins are going defense at pick 11 is not applicable. Like, they have needs everywhere. The Dolphins could go and take any position in this draft. So I disagree with you firmly on that. You go best player available / like position of value. Like, you get what's going to be the best building block for your team. And I have no qualms getting the best guard in this draft and a total stud in Ione. All right. Thank you for the super chats, guys. Let's resume with the Panthers up at pick 19. All right. Panthers, I would love to go defense if we can. We did Emmanuel McNeil Warren, and I've finished his eval this time around. I think I would say, like, when I was going off the consensus rankings and I put McNeil Warren here at 19, after watching him, I'm less confident in taking McNeil Warren at 19, but it's still not a bad pick. I think, like Peter Woods could be fun. Is there any other edge rushers that we're kind of discounting here that I like? I mean, I like Zion Young. I don't know that he's a difference-making pick for you at 19. I'm not taking Keldrick Falk for them. He's more of a project. I don't think, TJ Parker is not a first-round guy for me. Peter Woods is very fascinating. I wish he didn't come in at 295 at the combine. Full disclosure, I haven't done CJ Allen's full write-up yet. I've seen a couple, seen him in a couple games. I like what I see. He's the top player on the PFF board here. But I don't know that you're getting a ton of value with the defensive pick here, to be honest. The value's going to be on that wide receiver board. Or the other thing you could do, actually, this is going to be the pick. I know what we're doing. We're taking Spencer Fano. You guys, Ike Ekwonu's probably not going to be available next year. He went down with the patellar tendon injury in the playoff game. You need someone that can step in and play, and that's going to be Fano. And then down the road, Icky could play guard for you. You might end up letting Icky go. Taylor Moton is getting up there in age. This is the pick right here. It's Spencer Fano. That's actually a very easy pick after talking things through. Okay, Dallas Cowboys at pick 20. So we weren't able to get them that linebacker, but we beefed up the interior or the edge. Like we got a pretty nice looking edge group now. I'm excited to watch CJ Allen because I know a lot of people are excited about him. Right now, I have a hard time seeing him getting a higher grade than Jacob Rodriguez for me, who's going to have a true first round grade. I think he's absolutely incredibly awesome. One of my favorite linebacker prospects in a long time. I also think it's fun you reunite him with David Bailey out of Texas Tech, kind of right in your backyard. That's where my mind goes immediately. And I know some people are going to say that's crazy, but dude, that's what a first round linebacker prospect looks like. I think he is a more athletic version of what, oh man, another brain fart here. Devin Lloyd. I think Malcolm Rodriguez is a more athletic version of what Devin Lloyd was, where you watch him play and you're like, wow, that's a linebacker that had great production, incredible tape, that actually was asked to do NFL linebacker things. Like Texas Tech actually ran a relatively NFL style defense, and Rodriguez balled out. That's kind of where I lean for them, honestly. I still hate that tackle room, but I don't think we're taking any of these guys here. Yeah, I think that's the pick, man. I think when all's said and done, he's probably going to come in around the 20th best player in the draft for me, for Jacob Rodriguez. So that's going to be the pick at number 20. All right, 21, Pittsburgh Steelers. Omar Cooper Jr. is still there. I have a hard time not making this pick because he's such a perfect fit for their offense next to DK Metcalf. I think Ty Simpson is in consideration, but at this point, I feel like they're probably going to be the Kyler Murray team or the Malik Willis team. So I'm going to operate off of that assumption that it's either Kyler, Rodgers, or Malik Willis. And if it's Rodgers, I don't hate Ty Simpson, by the way. I think Ty Simpson, it kind of reminds me a little bit of like Bo Nix, where everybody hated the pick. And like, I don't hate Ty Simpson after like the 20th pick in the draft. I think he actually has a lot of upside. But for me, it's Omar Cooper Jr., man. It's just such an easy fit. And they need an easy button wide receiver. Not that Omar Cooper can't do other stuff, but dude, what he's able to do after the catch for you alone just gives you so much. But they need someone that can win in the short to intermediate game, complement DK Metcalf's skill set. He'll run block for you. Like I just think he fits so absolutely perfect for the Steelers. All right, Chargers at pick 22. My mind goes straight to Peter Woods, but they kind of need edge guys too. You got Thule, and Thule's someone that you want to use in between the tackles as well. With 3 edge rushers out there at once. I actually think Zion Young could be really fun for them. Keldrick Falk would be kind of on par for, playing a heavy-handed. I actually think Keldrick Falk is a 3-4 end, and that's kind of their system. So I actually think he could help their physicality. I mean, you have Tyler Tart's kind of a nose tackle for them. You have frickin' Caldwell. You got some size in there. But for me, look, a guy that Peter Woods is actually very similar to is going to be Braden Fisk. And with the way that the Chargers system moves guys around and will do loops and twists and stuff, like I think Peter Woods would make a lot of sense when you have Tart, you got Caldwell, you get a little bit more of an athletic interior guy in there. He's very much a scheme fit for what they need. I think that's your play. The other option would be to go O-line and get Caden Proctor and play him at guard, but I think you just did the giant tackle moving inside thing with Becton, and I think you're probably turned off a little bit by that. I think we're probably going to be a little bit more active to find interior guys later in the draft and in free agency. So we're going to grab Peter Woods here to the Chargers at 22. Okay, Eagles, pick 23. What do the Eagles actually need? Their roster is a change, and I think O-line has quickly become a massive need. I think this is a great opportunity to go with whatever tackle you like, because it's probably 1-2 years max for Lane Johnson at right tackle. So Proctor could be fun, but and you know, with Proctor, that's like they did have Mekhi Becton. Now this is where I'm excited to watch Proctor, because I know he's actually a pretty good athlete in terms of like getting out of his stance. I'm excited to watch him in like wide zone, because if he's a 350-pound guard that can get out and block wide zone, like that's just an absolute game changer. It sounds like they're going to be making more of a change to that type of system. So that could be fun to take him, because they do, Steen was okay, and Steen was from Bama too. But I think it's probably I feel like it's more of a Lomu Miller deal, where you're taking someone that just needs to fill out a little bit more, or a Ian Anchor that's, a little bit, I think he's only played 1 year of high-level competition. They're more clean projections as future tackles, I think. You also could think about Jordan Tyson, because of, with A.J. Brown and how that's all played out. That's not a bad idea. There's a lot of value there at this point at 23. Corners in need. Are you taking Avion Terrell and sticking him outside? That'd be fun. You got some options here. I know if this is me, someone said Ian Anchor was 3 years at ASU, so I'm sorry I misspoke on that. I don't know who the exact guy is, but you have really 3 names here that have all been in this range. Once I get through my evals and actually stack these guys up and know exactly which one I want, if this is me, like, that's what I do, is like I like to plan ahead on the offensive line. It's not the sexiest pick, but that's how the Eagles don't end up in these really tough spots on the offensive line, is because they do stuff like this. And you got to remember, you don't have Jeff Stoutland anymore to, flip some of these later round guys into superstars, maybe at the same level. I do like the Avion Terrell idea and just fill out the best secondary in the league. Who are they rolling with at safety too? Because I think they got some shakeup coming at safety. Like, you could think about McNeil Warren too. You got Blankenship's a free agent. Sidney Brown's been tough. Makuba is like kind of TBD right now. Like, he's probably going to be starting for you, but that actually might be the play. I mean, Sidney Brown, I feel like, didn't earn that job. But I just don't think they would do that. And I honestly I don't think I would either. I would rather take the tackle and start developing them. So for me, if you're trading A.J. Brown this offseason, it's Jordan Tyson. I have a feeling they're not going to do that. In which case, I'm going to take Blake Miller. And again, this is more placeholder. It could be any of these three, depending on who I like the most. It's just my gut tells me it's going to be Blake Miller is the guy I kind of like as the long-term upside play. But yeah, we're gonna go with the tackle development pick, and the 2027 Eagles will be thankful of that pick. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, man. I feel like that's about the pick that Howie would go with. Lane Johnson can't hold down the fort there forever, man. He just can't. All right, Browns are up. So we got the Browns. Couple linemen now with the trade with the Texans, and now Monroe Feeling. Doesn't mean they can't still take a tackle, but I do think, with Jordan Tyson still here, I think you roll the dice on the health. I think you're willing to do that here at 24. Look, Jordan Tyson, I send this card into the podium, and I'm trembling with fear, man. Like, I know everybody loves Jordan Tyson. Personally, I don't feel super confident in picking him at any point in the first round. The dude just hasn't been able to get through a season. And I do genuinely believe you get hurt in college, you're going to get hurt in the future. And the fact that it's the Browns making this pick, it's like, is it going to be different for the Cleveland Browns who are cursed? It's scary, man, but they do absolutely need some freaking wide receiver help. And he's a do-it-all number one if he stays healthy. So we're going to roll the dice on Jordan Tyson and just pray that he can stay healthy. All right, Bears up at number 25. We're going to be making a pick for the Bears, not doing the Max Crosby trade in this world. So I don't think a center is like worth this pick here. You're probably talking about end of the second round with those centers if you're drafting one. But that definitely throws a new need in here. Obviously, your attention's going to go immediately to D-line for the Bears. Now, Keldrick Falk is absolutely a Dennis Allen guy. In fact, I see Keldrick Falk very similarly to Shamar Turner from last year. Honestly, like as prospects, I think they're very close. I think Falk has better run defense tape, but I do see Falk as maybe a 5 tech in a Dennis Allen front, but I think he plays a lot of 3. I don't think he's going to win as a pass rusher from the edge. So he would be in play for them. I don't think that would be my pick. I mean, honestly, my guy here is Zion Young. Zion Young clears the remaining edge rushers pretty clearly for me. And with Peter Woods, Caleb Banks and Peter Woods gone as well. I like Lee Hunter. I like Caden McDonald. It doesn't really solve the Bears' problem. Like, they need pass rushers. These guys aren't pass rushers. They're going to come in and help your run defense, but dude, Zion Young's really fun. He's absolutely, and the funny thing about this is my comp for him is Carl Granderson, who a lot of people don't realize how good Carl Granderson is, but that was frickin' Dennis Allen's guy. So that's for me the fallback. Like, I think you're looking at their pecking order for me is Banks, Peter Woods, honestly, Mesidor if he falls, and then Zion Young. Like, those are kind of the D linemen I'm going with there. But obviously, I'd rather be able to flip this pick for Max Crosby. We're not going to do that here. All right, let's do some super chats before we get through the rest of this draft. So, Long this $20 super chat, thank you. Says, I agree the Rams go weapons at 13. The D will be handled in free agency, maybe 29 for McDuffie. McVay adds another weapon to stay number one on offense. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fun consideration that absolutely could be in play. I think there's a really deep wide receiver class. I look at, I think Omar Cooper Jr. at 13 would be a very sound pick for them. I really like Jeremy Bernard for them. However, that could slot in. Like, I think he's absolutely a Ram. There's so many different wide receivers, different shapes and sizes and all that. But I could certainly see it. Charlie says, our Thomas Mason. You mean our Mason Thomas? I just watched him last night. Hate to say, not blown away by our Mason Thomas. He's okay. Slapped a best case scenario Uchenna and Wosu comp on him, but I don't know. He's small. He's really small. And then from Chris, Eagles definitely got one of the best players in the draft. That's the Roseman effect. If you're saying Blake Miller is one of the best players in the draft, then I can't wait to watch him, man. In depth. All right. Let's finish this sucker up. Buffalo Bills at pick 26. I mean, the Denzel Boston pick has become kind of chalk for them. It really has. Also, I didn't realize the Raiders don't pick till 36. So we're doing a 36 pick mock draft because we got to get to the Raiders. But the Bills are a tough team because they're bringing in the new system. A lot of their existing players are kind of awkward scheme fits now for the defense. And you want them to get that perimeter wide receiver. So Casey Concepcion comes in and weighs in at 195, but he also didn't run. So that was interesting to me. Like, Concepcion is in this 25 to 40 range for me. And I really like the idea of them getting just someone to push the ball down the field to. But honestly, man, I think if you're the Bills, and Boston's an option, I wonder if you can't get Brennan Thompson at pick 60. And if it's not Brennan Thompson, Chris Brazzell, even Malachi Fields. There's so much depth to this wide receiver class. I think if you're looking just for someone that you can push the ball downfield to, but dude, every single time, every play I'm watching Brennan Thompson, and I actually like Brennan Thompson. I'm mad that I didn't watch him before my wide receiver rankings because he was came through late. But every time I was watching him, I was like, can we just get this guy with Josh Allen? Because nobody can run with him deep. I mean, his speed is absolutely insane. I think Brennan Thompson's speed showed on tape more than Xavier Worthy's did, who ran the faster 40. So I'm actually open to the idea of, going a different position. I mean, Caden McDonald or honestly Lee Hunter is a really fun way to just start this. I think it's Lee Hunter is the pick. He's a really good player. He's not going to really help your pass rush. But they need beef, dude. They need like talent on the trenches, on the defense. And this is the best player available for me. I actually like him a lot next to Deion Walker because I don't really like Walker as a nose tackle. I like Lee Hunter as a nose tackle. They don't really have a guy unless you're talking about 35-year-old frickin' Daquan Jones is a pending free agent. You got Ed Oliver. Like, I really like, okay, we'll see what TJ Sanders can do in year 2, but you take Lee Hunter and make him your nose tackle with Ed Oliver next to him as a 4-eye, Deion Walker as a 3-tech. TJ Sanders is rotating in there. We can really work with that, but it doesn't work without that nose tackle. And I do like Lee Hunter more than Caden McDonald personally. So that's gonna be the pick there at 26. Okay, Niners at 27. Emmanuel McNeil Warren's here. Honestly, offensive tackle might have to be the play. Trent Williams. that ship is, that door is closing there. I don't think Proctor's really their type. Lomu's a good athlete. Ian Aker might be in consideration for them. I feel like that's kind of the way you got to go. I mean, you can't keep ignoring this offensive line. I don't think they view the secondary as a massive need. I mean, CJ Allen could absolutely be in play for them. But you got Fred coming back. You can kind of build around Fred. I don't think you need to go that route. Wide receiver, I think we can probably, Concepcion, absolutely, but I think it's more important to take care of the O-line here. So probably going with Ian Aker. I think that's the play. I've liked what I've seen from him so far. I haven't finalized the grade yet, but Lomu, I got some concerns about the length and the size profile that I don't have with Ian Aker, so we're gonna go that route at 27. All right, 28 for the Texans. They don't need a running back anymore. I got my Montgomery in there. Honestly, Keldrick Falk mixed into that Texans D-line is very fascinating to me. I've got a second-round grade on Falk, but just thinking about that fit kind of gets me excited because I think in that system, you think about Danico Autry, right? Kind of a edge interior D-lineman hybrid. I think they can come out in the wide 9, stick Keldrick Falk as a 4-eye, and you got Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson on the outside. You got a couple other D tackles, to play the 2-tech. I think that's a really hard front to run into, and then I think they can get him to work on the pass rushing stuff in time. That one really stands out to me. Certainly offensive line, though, with Titus Howard gone. Proctor's still there. Lomu's there. How bad is it? How bad are we talking about in Houston? The other thing is they have another pick coming right up. So you can kind of play the board a little bit. So they'll probably bring Ed Ingram back. They like Jake Andrews. They need a left guard. And they need a right tackle. They're probably I would think they're going to do something in free agency. But yeah, I think the fact that they need a guard and a tackle, you probably just take Caden Proctor here. And whichever spot he plays, that's great. But I think he could be a left guard or a right tackle. So we'll go that route. And then if we're lucky, we can get Keldrick Falk at 38. What's up, Brandon? Thanks for the super chat, brother. Miss you. I feel like I haven't seen you in a minute, Brandon. Okay, Rams, pick 29. So we did get them a corner. We were just talking about them kind of needing a sexy playmaker in there. I mean, Casey Concepcion. I mean, I really do think Jeremy Bernard is the perfect Rams wide receiver. And I don't think this is crazy early for him here. I actually think Bernard probably a better fit for the Rams offense in terms of the toughness over the middle of the field. I said Jeremy Bernard is some combination of Adam Thielen and Jawan Jennings. That would play perfectly. Devontae Adams is not going to be around forever. Bernard gets to learn from him. Dude, Jeremy Bernard, too. The 3-cone was nice. The 40 was nice. Fuck it, man. He's a Ram. That is what Jeremy Bernard is. And we could talk about, okay, can they move down to 36 and collect more picks and make it happen? Whatever. This way you get the 5th-year option when he's a freaking superstar in your offense. Now, I know Ty Simpson could also absolutely be in play for them as well. But that's redundant. Or not redundant, but that's been done. Let's do the Rams go for it situation here. All right. Pick 30. Denver Broncos. Broncos really are such a complete roster. I think CJ Allen's the pick. That's pretty common, right? Like linebackers absolutely shaping up to be a need. You know, Singleton and Dre Greenlaw aren't going to be there forever. So pretty chalky, but it's the right pick to go CJ Allen. So we'll slot that in. Then we got the Patriots. Caleb Lomu is still there, and there's a drop-off after Lomu, and I think you're pretty gutted if you don't get that. You know, I can't really stress enough how damn lucky that the Patriots got that Morgan Moses played 20 games for them this year, and he's 35 years old. Like, you got to plan for the inevitable there. Lomu, I think, needs a year to bulk up, get the right coaching. I think this is a really natural fit to go Lomu there. Clutch in the chat says, Pats won't take a tackle in the first. Clutch, I hate to be rude. That's absurd. There is not a single team in the NFL that is not going to consider taking a tackle in the first round ever. Like, that is a position that every team will always consider, taking a tackle in the first round. Okay, Seattle Seahawks at pick 32. I don't hate the idea of them getting one more interior offensive lineman if you really like Basantis or Pregnon or Jennings Dunker, but it feels like that's a little early right now. Avion Terrell's a ton of fun. He's still there. What's their like D-line situation? Because they obviously have a good D-line, but is it sustainable? That's the question. Because you got, okay, Jerron Reed's in there. Leonard Williams is going to be 32 this year. DeMarcus Lawrence is up there in age. You're set to lose Mafe. Uchenna Nwosu's like, D-line is sneaky, like creeping up. You don't have to go that route, but it's creeping up on them. Outside corners, obviously, like their glaring need. And that's kind of chalky to just take. I mean, I think you could probably just take Avion Terrell and you just kind of have him and Witherspoon are like two in the same. Just kind of moving around E-Man Worry. Like, that's kind of smooth. Like, from a scheming perspective, like, very flexible. I think that's fun. I think we'll take Avion Terrell. All right, pick 30. We're just going to do these top four because I skipped the Raiders pick at number 1. We're going to get to it. So I think for the Jets, we took Sadiq and we took Arvell Reese. Could certainly take Colton Hood. Would be consistent for them. What about Emmanuel McNeil-Warren? That could play. Yeah. I mean, all they have is Malachi Moore, which I'm excited to maybe see Malachi Moore get a starting opportunity next year. But yeah, dude, that's a pretty easy pick, honestly. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, he's your day one starter right there, pick 33. Okay, Cardinals at pick 34. So we took Ruben Bain for them. Now you kind of have to look at the O-line, and, you know, maybe it's Pregnon. I'm honestly, like, this is why I'm not doing a second round mock yet, because there's just players that I need to get to, and I'm just not that familiar with Pregnon. 6'5", 318. But I think you got to go O-line. I think preferably you'd get a tackle, but we've taken them way off the board here. This is why I just want to trade down for the damn Cardinals, man. hell, I'd trade down from here, but we're not going to do that because we're kind of going speed mode just to get to the Raiders here. But sheesh, man. I mean, you could just totally go D line. Like, I don't know how long Dalvin Tomlinson's going to be around. You know, Calais Campbell. Like, you could just go full send and get your nose tackle and Caden McDonald. You know, I don't know. I don't know if they want to trade like Dalvin Tomlinson. You're not taking Keldrick Falk after the frickin' I mean, or you take Ty Simpson. You know what? I'm gonna do it just because I do think Ty Simpson goes in this range, and we're just trying to get to the Raiders here. And it's not crazy to think that the Cardinals do that. You know, I think obviously like Caden McDonald or Pregnone would be, if you're mad at the Simpson pick, like, you know, I think Pregnone or McDonald would make sense there. All right, Titans at 35. We took Carnell Tate for them. Here, I think you gotta look at the defense. You know, I don't think you're taking Caden McDonald. Otherwise, you wouldn't have traded Tavondre Sweat away. Like, I think that's solid, telling us he doesn't care that much about the nose tackle. I'm going to be watching Malachi Lawrence tonight. I'm really excited to see if I'm this high on him. Ugh. I think it's probably TJ Parker here. I just don't feel great about that. Again, this is why we're not going too far into the second round here. Haven't watched Christian Miller yet. I mean, Keldrick Falk is a Robert Saleh type of guy. Like, he's kind of similar to Mykel Williams last year. That would actually make a lot of sense. I think I do see Keldrick Falk being more of a Eric Armstead type of player. So I think that's the pick, is Falk to the Titans there. He'll be kind of an edge IDL hybrid. And then the Raiders. John, just despite you spamming it in the chat, I'm not going to do the Giants pick. Okay, Raiders at 36. So you can literally throw a dart at a defensive position and go that route. Like, yeah, I like the idea of Caden McDonald, if he's the best player, get a nose tackle in there, because their new DC, do we know anything about like what? I think I saw they're going to be a 3-4 team. Like, the main thing you think of with 3-4 and all that is like, are you going to utilize a nose tackle? So I think that would make a ton of sense. We took a lot of the top linebackers off. Jake Golday is someone that I'm really excited to watch. A lot of people are excited about him, so maybe he's in play there. I don't quite know if that's the play there. Colton Hood, absolutely, man. John, you're getting put in timeout, man. That's bad. That's bad. All right. Honestly, like, wide receiver, it's a deep class, but, and I know Elijah Surratt's there. Look, Denzel Boston with Fernando Mendoza, that's kind of perfect, man. Like, just back shoulder galore. Like, that to me really is standing out to me. And I don't hate Denzel Boston. I don't think it's crazy that he falls into the early second. I think with Mendoza's touch and the throws that he makes, that's too perfect of a fit. And I said that, like, anybody that watched my Mendoza film breakdown, you heard me shout out, like, if you're taking Mendoza, you got to pair him with a back shoulder, like, fit for Mendoza. And look, I know we got to work with Surratt, but Denzel Boston's just better at it. So we're going to go Boston there. And then I did say I was going to do the other teams that don't have a first round pick. I think it's better, honestly, to open a new window. So I can keep this up. And just kind of get to those picks. So hold on a second. We're going to come here. We're going to do 2-round mock draft. And we're just going to select Jags, Packers, Falcons, Colts. It should play out where we can just assume we're picking, from a new board. Like, I think that works. So we'll do that just to get some analysis on these picks. So pick 47. Omar Cooper Jr. is still there. Obviously, we took Cooper. We took Ian Anker, but we took Jeremy. So there's some differences, but they did announce that they're not going to be bringing. Sorry, I got all the tabs open at this point. Welcome to draft season. When you have all these tabs open, you know it's draft season. But they announced that they're not going to be bringing Nick Cross back. They don't really have other answers at safety. I do like Hunter Waller, but more as like a dime linebacker type. And there's some good safeties. Sorry, tab season. Like Halsey and Ramsey and Wheatley all seem like pretty nice players. Even Genesis Smith. Like these are some good safeties in this group. So like maybe it's one of those guys. I think, your O-line's in a pretty good spot, honestly. Cornerback, maybe. Because you brought in Sauce. Well, no, you're good at corner. I mean, maybe you need a slot for the future at some point. But, man, you put another safety in there with this group, like you're pretty set at safety. I do think another linebacker could certainly be in place. So what? I know Rodriguez is going to show up. We obviously took him, but yeah, like Kyle Lewis or Josiah Trotter. So I think you're going safety or linebacker in the second round for the Colts, and I think AJ Halsey is going to be my pick for now. Obviously, I haven't gotten too far in the safety class, so I can't speak on these guys in depth. I've seen a little bit of AJ Halsey, and looks like a second rounder or so far. Don't want to lock that in or anything. Falcons at pick 48. So defense is in a pretty good spot. Like I think they could probably use another corner. But I think you're probably talking about getting that wide receiver that the Falcons really need, taking advantage of the depth of this draft class. Like, I wouldn't rule out taking a corner. Mike Hughes is kind of a Band-Aid. Clark Phillips, D. Alford is going to be gone. You got Billy Bowman. Like, they could certainly use a corner. But I think take advantage of the depth of this wide receiver class. Now, obviously, we already took, in our world, both Jeremy and Cooper off the board, and I don't think you're taking Surratt. He's a little redundant with Drake London. Chris Brazzell would be a ton of fun to get a true deep threat in there. Kevin Coleman Jr., I actually would really like for them at pick 48. He's a very smooth, like I compared him to Emmanuel Sanders. Like if you didn't see my Kevin Coleman breakdown in my wide receiver rankings, like this is absolutely not a reach for me. I have a true second grade on Kevin Coleman. So I would say it depends what you want. I think Brazzell, if you want a true field stretching vertical threat that Michael Penix can just launch it to, it's not a bad idea. Or do you want more of a separator? I would say, how much do you trust Darnell Mooney to bounce back, who was injured this year? the upside play is you trust Darnell Mooney to bounce back, and you take Chris Brazzell, and you've got weapons galore for Penix. So let's do it. Let's go Chris Brazzell. Okay, my Green Bay Packers. Let's just go straight to cornerback. I mean, D'Angelo Pons, I haven't fully watched him yet, but pretty familiar. Haven't watched a lot of Indiana. You know, wouldn't really be the Packers' typical type, unfortunately, but would be the best pick. That's why the Packers suck at drafting, because they just overthink it sometimes. But they wouldn't really take D'Angelo Pons. Running back's a sneaky need for them. So if you really like Jadarian Price in a bad running back draft class, it wouldn't be crazy to see them go running back. Interior D-line as well. Dominique Orange, Dante Corleone probably would be your top two options there. But the problem with this is I'm just not familiar enough with these corners to make an educated pick because I haven't gotten into the corners yet. And it feels like a lot of them went. Keontae Scott, Chris Johnson, I know is up there for them. Colton Hood's gone. Feels like a lot of the corners have gone. And again, they wouldn't take D'Angelo Pons. So I think the pick is probably going to be Dominique Orange for the Packers at 52. And then the Jags finally get to make a pick at 56. Jadarian Price is still there. Depends how much you trust Byshell Tootin. I think O-line should be in play for them. Let's pull up the Jags depth chart. The Jags are kind of a weird team where like I feel like they don't have any like screaming needs, but they have a lot of pieces that like could be upgraded. Like Patrick McCarry, you could upgrade at right guard. He was really rough for them, but I do like Wyatt Milam maybe to develop there. So like guard, you could upgrade. They paid Cole Van Lannon. Like they're good at tackle. Linebacker, if they lose Devin Lloyd, is going to be a big need for them. So if some of these guys start to fall in this draft, safety could be a need. Eric Murray was all right for them though. So it's really like linebacker, interior D-line. Mason Smith didn't take a step this year. Interior D-line with Eric Armstead getting up there, and honestly, like running back and guards. So I don't hate the Jadarian Price pick. I don't. In a bad running back class, I think he pairs well with Tootin. I don't think it's realistic for Tootin to just get the whole backfield next year. I think splitting that up would make sense, but like Chase Besantis is still there, so maybe that's the pick. I don't know. Feel pretty certain saying like Jadarian Price is going to be a better player overall, maybe. What linebackers are still here? Josiah Trotter's still there. I think you take Trotter. Physical linebacker. All right, so things got a little wacky by doing those later picks at the end because I can't really sim ahead, but that is our mock draft. We made it. Do we keep it under 2 hours? We did. We're at an hour 55. So we kept it under 2 hours. It's a hell of a mock draft. Thank you everybody in the chat. I do have a couple super chats that I got to get to on the way out. From Monty. Monty, what's up, bro? Good to see you. Missed you. Producer Monty. This year, I feel like you usually do with Gutekunst. Took BPA Barron, and we're left with the same needs as last year. You'd have so much more flexibility if you already had Jahad Campbell, Simmons, or Eman Wari plus Falcons first. So you're talking about the Broncos really pinned themselves into a corner with the Jahdae Barron pick when there was other better picks to be made. Huh. If only there was a draft analyst out there that said that that was just an okay pick and they could have done better. I'm just saying. No, I'm sounding full of myself, but I'm with you, Monty. The Jahdae Barron pick, in hindsight, is just feeling pretty meh. And it doesn't help as well that, I mean, you can't really foresee Jaquan McMillan like breaking out in the way that he did, but we also knew he was pretty good. So, but McMillan being as good as he was this year definitely helped keep Jahdae Barron at bay. I still think moving Jahdae Barron to safety could be the best long-term play for the Broncos. We'll see what happens there. And then Tanner, what's up, Tanner? Thanks for the super chat, my friend. What do you think of Arizona State's overall class? Yeah, unfortunately, I just don't have enough. You know, I'm not deep enough, my friend. Like, we'll get there. I know it's like we're 2 months from the draft. It's really hard when we're coming right out of the NFL season. I cover the NFL season year round. It's a time consuming process. So like, I'll try to remember to get back to you. And of course, I'll have all those write-ups for all the ASU guys, like on the draft board and all that. But you know, I really don't have any opinions on the ASU guys right now, other than Tyson, who I've talked a lot about, obviously, and Ian Aker kind of looks the part. I got to get into it, watch a few games, and see the real highs and lows there. But beyond that, you know, I've heard Keyshawn Elliott is a baller. Got to get to him, and then honestly, Shaman Meter and Xavier Alford, I don't know that either of those guys are on my watch list. Pulling up my spoilers. No one saw that. I don't think the tight end is on the watch list, no. All right. That was a great mock draft, guys. Awesome stream. Thank you so much for tuning in for that one. Fun, kind of impromptu Tuesday stream. It's Tuesday, not Thursday. But the next video will be my edge rusher rankings. And after that, we'll be wrapping up Studs and Duds on Patreon for the YouTube members. I noticed a handful of you guys signed up as members here during this stream. So just a reminder, if you are looking for Studs and Duds, the YouTube members do get access to that along with the patrons. So that's all I got. I just one chat from one of those members there that caught the corner of my eye there. He said, "Who's your favorite guy in the draft process so far?" From Arlo. Honestly, I think it's got to be Omar Cooper Jr. because that is setting up to be, I think what's going to go down as one of my, you were on that early type of takes that I can be proud of. But I think Jacob Rodriguez as well is shaping up in that sense too. So those are kind of my two quote unquote favorite guys in this draft as far as like sleepers and values and that kind of stuff. But all right. I'm out of here. We're going to hit end stream before we hit the 2-hour mark. Thank you guys so much, and we'll talk soon. Cheers.